My child, allow yourself to stop. Not because you are weak, but because I am here. Everything else can wait. Hustle, worries, haste. Let them retreat for a while. Right now, only one thing is important: your presence here. Give me just 6 minutes, and I will help you touch what has long gone unnoticed. I have come to heal your feet, that part of you, which has carried more than it could, and yet did not fail. I know how, step by step, you learned not to show pain, how you kept going, when everything inside was calling you to stop. Your gait became a compromise between the desire to move and the necessity to endure. But I do not want you to live on the edge. I do not want every movement to be a feat. Now I say, enough of surviving. It's time to walk freely, not through force, but with me. Not in fear, but in trust. Now there is no need to take an extra step. Now there is no need to strain your body again to move. Now is the moment when everything stops. Not to interrupt the journey, but to return to you what is essential to continue. I am nearby. Not with reproach, not with demands, but with understanding. You were not created to move to the point of exhaustion. What has become your norm is not my will. The pain you have learned to ignore should no longer be your background. I do not want you to drag yourself. I have come to support you. Now this is not a pause. It is a beginning. Because it is in this silence that I come closest. Listen, not to the sounds, but to what is happening inside. Where you previously felt nothing, life begins to respond. Your feet are not forgotten. I touch them, even if you have not realized it yet. Just stop. Because this is where true movement begins. You have passed too many sections where it seemed there would be no further path. Where your feet clung to the ground, not because there was somewhere to go, but because it was frightening to fall. The body remembers. It contracted, adapted, restructured itself under the pain, so as not to give up. And you got used to this being your form. Now that you can move, even when moving is almost unbearable. But I won't let you stay in this. What has become part of your daily state will not become your destiny. I saw everything. Your fatigue that you didn't show. The tension in your calves that wouldn't ease. The refusal of your feet to obey when you needed support. None of this escaped my notice. That's exactly where I come in. Not superficially, but deeply. To the place where you stopped believing in change, where you learned to cope, where you accepted the impossible as the limit. I burst in not to give hope. I provide action. You no longer have to adapt to limitations. I don't just alleviate. I break the pattern where pain has become the norm. The impossible is not a barrier. It's the place of my strength. I choose it to show nothing can hold back the one I have decided to restore. And now I am restoring you. You may not feel it immediately, but the process has already begun. Where pain has settled, not in the muscles, but in memory, where the legs have stored, not only fatigue, but traces of pressure, fear, haste, humiliation. All of this is recorded in the body, in the gait, in the rhythm, in how you place your foot on the ground. I do not work superficially. I go deeper, to where you once agreed to live with this burden, to where a step became an obligation, not an expression of freedom. I begin to untie what has been tightened for too long. I reach places you no longer thought about, where nothing hurts because you got used to it, where there is no anxiety because you forgot how it used to be different. But I remember how your legs moved when there was no pain in them yet, when you didn't think about how to step so you wouldn't get twisted, when you didn't look back after every step, expecting a new spasm. That's exactly where I'm leading. Not to relief, but to return. You might not understand what's happening, But the liberation is already underway. The work is already in progress. Don't rush to see the result. Listen to your body, and you will sense the change. I will not start with the visible. I will start with what determines everything else. Deep down, I am turning you towards movement. Without tension. Without repeating the pain. Simply, towards life. You might not notice this moment. It won't be accompanied by a flash. There won't be a loud signal. But I've already started. The first movement doesn't come with a jerk. It comes with silence. With a gentle release of tension. With the feeling that something new is appearing in your legs. Not power, but fluidity. I am not seeking a demonstration. I am working at a level where everything changes fundamentally. The first thing you will feel is not strength, but the absence of resistance. The tissues that held the pain will begin to release. The joints that were afraid to open will start to allow a bit more freedom. You won't be sure if you felt anything, and that in itself will be a sign. My processes do not follow a schedule. I start where nothing has moved for a long time. Where you didn't even ask for help, because you didn't believe change was possible. And it is precisely there that I send the flow. It doesn't burn, it penetrates. It doesn't storm, it integrates. And you will catch the moment. The step doesn't become easier, but more natural. This is the first sign. I am not asking you to hurry. Don't ask yourself either. Just allow your legs to be in the process. Don't demand speed from them. They need something else. The silence, in which I work. And I am already working. It won't leave abruptly. You won't suddenly wake up with new legs. But one day, you will stop. And realize, something has disappeared. What used to bind you every day, has gone, without slamming the door. The tension you were accustomed to will begin to dissolve, not like pain, but like a background. Like a fog that hung in the air for a long time. And then, dissipated. And you realized, you were breathing easier. I don't tear out the pain, I displace it with my presence. I don't break into your body with force. I enter, like light into a room that has long been dim, and the tension no longer holds power. Where there were tense muscles, flexibility appears. Where the foot did not trust the ground, a gentle confidence arrives. I don't alleviate, I recalibrate. You don't get temporary relief. You gain a new sensation. As if the space in your body has expanded. As if your stride has lengthened. Not because you are trying, but because the body has stopped defending itself. You didn't specifically ask for this, but I knew what you needed. And now it comes, slowly, precisely, with respect for your resilience. The tension leaves, and in its place appears something you haven't felt in a long time. An ease that doesn't need to be earned. Everything that was constrained no longer resists. Not because you did something special, but because my strength comes not from effort, but from presence. I don't press, I enter. And in this penetration, I invest restoration. You don't see it, but you feel it. At first, like a subtle vibration. As if the blood is moving differently. As if passages deep within the body have opened that were blocked. You don't need to understand where it came from. The flow doesn't ask for permission to enter. It simply goes where there is space, and I create this space within you, freeing it from pain, from internal spasms, from the memory of strain. Even if you can't name exactly where it hurt, I still know. I know these hidden knots that prevented you from moving freely. Feel as if something has changed between the bones. The joints no longer press against each other as they used to. The feet become softer. The shins more compliant. Everything that once seemed rusty begins to respond. This is not a miracle in the usual sense. It's the return of normalcy that has become incredible to you. The flow cannot be stopped. If I have started, it means it will reach the end. Not because you deserve it, but because I decided there will be movement in this body. Without pain, without compression, without the fear that it will start again. Nothing will start again. Everything concludes, and something new begins. You will not be afraid to walk, because I walk in you, and with you. You are not obliged to go far. I do not ask you to march, nor do I demand acceleration. All I ask for is consent. One step, even if uncertain, even if cautious, because I do not measure strength by the length of the path. I measure it by the willingness to move when the body is still unsure. This step does not have to be beautiful. It does not have to be bold. It can be uneven, slow, trembling. But if you decide to take it, I am already with you. Because in this action, you agree not only to move, but also to accept the strength that has long been ready. The legs start to obey, not when the pain disappears, but when you allow them to be participants again, not just witnesses. You are not just moving your foot, you are reclaiming movement. It is not for the sake of the result. It is for the sake of restoring the connection between your faith and your body. You don't have to feel confident in advance. It will come later, after the step, because my strength comes not before the movement, but during it. It does not get ahead of you. It meets you. This step triggers not only a physical response, it makes room for my work in you. You are no longer the one who just endures. You are the one who moves forward, and every inch of this step is like a response. My child, tell me these 4 words, I believe I can, and I will answer you. You can, because I strengthen you. Let the movement be quiet, but let it happen, because with it comes everything else. You didn't always know if the road beneath you would hold. How many times have you moved forward not because you believed in the path, but because stopping was unbearable? Your legs got used to the anxiety, to the step that could be followed by a fall. They learned not to trust the ground, learned to distribute weight, hold the spasm, prepare for pain in advance. And this became your gait. But I will not leave you on the fragile. I'm not calling you onto the unsteady. Where you step, I lay down strength. Not before you move, but at the moment of the step. I do not build the road in advance. I construct it under your feet, as you walk. This is how my support comes. Not in theory, not in the future, but here, now, under the body that has decided to move. You won't feel how it happens. Just one step, and you'll catch on. You are not balancing. You are being held. You are not testing the support. You are relying on it. The ground no longer demands caution. It accepts you, not because it has changed, but because I have become part of this movement. I do not guarantee that it will be easy, but I guarantee you will not fall through. Confidence does not come from outside. It comes from the one who walks beside you. And I am beside you. I am not observing, not checking. I carry part of this step with you. With each new movement, your legs will remember how it is, not to defend, but just to walk. And I will continue to lay under your feet what you would never build yourself. A true support, true freedom, your path that is born under your feet. You couldn't always walk, and that wasn't a weakness. Sometimes you just stood at the limit, when your legs hummed from the strain, when everything inside was calling to lie down, hide, disappear. But you stood, not because you wanted to, but because you couldn't allow yourself to fall. Your resilience was understated. It was quiet, persistent, stubborn, and therefore so valuable. I saw it. Saw how you didn't leave, when everything screamed of futility. When the support disappeared not from the outside, but from within. When all the weight was held not by the strength of muscles, but by the decision not to give up. I didn't miss a single day when you held on with your last strength. These are the moments I call sacrifice. Not pain, but resilience in pain. My intervention does not come to those who shout the loudest. It comes where silence becomes faith, where a person stays in place, because they believe that someone will eventually see. And I saw, I heard, I respond. Where you simply stood, I send strength. Not bright, not explosive, but like freshness, like an enhancement that cannot be explained. The muscles that kept you on the edge begin to recover. The ligaments that prevented the fall now start to move differently, not in defense, but in freedom. You endured. Now I lift you up, and not temporarily, but into a new state, where resilience will no longer be your only resource. Now you will walk not in defiance, but alongside me, because I have come not only to reward your endurance, I have come to transform it into movement. You have gone through more than you acknowledged, and more than anyone knows. Your legs carried not only your body, they carried loneliness. Days when you didn't complain, not because it didn't hurt, but because you understood no one would hear. And all you could do was keep going. Without explanations, without sympathy, without an audience. But I saw how you walked, when no one knew how hard it was for you. I saw how you slowed down, but didn't stop, how you held back the trembling in your legs, to not show weakness. Those were your most honest steps, not for approval, not for results, just because you didn't want to fall. The world applauds those who run. I come to those who keep moving in silence. Where there was neither praise nor a shoulder, my hand was there. I didn't need loud prayers to know you need me. Now I return to you not only the freedom of the body, I return to you self-respect. You are not weak. You endured. And that is more than strength. It is resilience that calls forth my strength in response. You will not go unnoticed. You will not be alone. I reward not only faith, but also loyalty. Every step, taken in the dark, now becomes a point of contact with my light. I don't just see, I respond. And from now on, you will not walk silently. Your path will be accompanied by my support at every step, which will no longer be hidden. You are used to thinking that change comes through effort, that you need to pray louder, move stronger, prove your readiness. But I say otherwise. The greatest things start small, with what seems unnoticed, with a gesture that no one will see, with a slight shift of weight from one foot to the other, with a cautious straightening of the knee, with a step that doesn't look like a victory, but becomes one. You are not obliged to feel a surge. My strength doesn't always make noise. It often acts in silence. When you, not even understanding why, decide to move forward, it is already entering. When you lift your foot, not expecting a miracle, but simply because something inside says, do it. That is faith. Not emotional, but physical. I move not where it's loud. I move where there is readiness. When the body does what it hasn't done in a long time. I do what you haven't felt in a long time. This is a union. It's not just you creating the miracle, and not just me. I decide everything. This is a meeting between gesture and presence, between agreement and result. And you will start to notice, with every small movement, a release, not bright, but real. The pain goes away not in a jerk, but in layers. The feet obey. The knees become stable, and there is a feeling in the legs that they belong to you again. You don't have to understand everything. Just move. I am nearby, and I will make each simple gesture a testament to the overwhelming power that already flows within you. You have reached this point not by chance. This is not the end. This is not the finish. This is the place where two wills meet, mine to restore and yours to agree. This is where true healing begins. Not at the moment of relief, but at the moment of the inner yes. I do not force. I do not lead by the hand. I am nearby, but you take the step forward, yourself. And this step is not into nowhere. It is towards me. In the direction where everything I have spoken of begins to fully unfold. Everything you have prepared for with your body, soul, and anticipation begins to unfold in practice. You will feel your legs no longer serve just to carry you. Now they will walk. Not out of fear, not out of necessity, not out of pain. They will move with a new purpose, with the feeling that you are no longer dragging yourself. You are directed. You are not just restored, you are sanctified. What seemed like a limitation has become a testimony. I have instilled in your legs not only the ability to move, but also a sign that I am a God who restores not only the body, but also dignity, not only the step, but also the direction. Now you do not look at the ground with danger. You lift your gaze, because the path beneath your feet is no longer a coincidence, it leads. And everything that was tangled, narrowed, broken, no longer holds power. With each movement, you enter into what I have prepared in advance. And nothing, neither the past, nor fear, nor residual pain, can stop what I have already set in motion. I am not just giving you back the ability to walk. I am giving you back the right to go where I am calling you. Without limitations, without old fears, without the internal expectation of a setback. Everything that held you back is broken not only physically, but deeper. Now, you are a participant. Not a spectator of the miracle, not a supplicant, a participant. And I am glad about this, because it is in such a union, where my strength and your step combine, that not just movement is born, but a path is born. Real, new, yours.